animal. Die. My organs. My organs hurt.
Tell me, who's in charge?
Oh, this pain different. This is different pain. This is new. This is new pain.
So here's the thing. I am a huge fan of Power Rangers. I've been watching Power Rangers since I was little, and man oh man, I've somehow only grown to love them more as an adult. There's a beautiful simplicity to the franchise, paired with a deep sense of world building and lore that exists on par with some of my other favorite franchises like Marvel, DC, and Ben 10. And since I don't think I'll be able to talk about Power Rangers as a whole for, a while, I may as well talk about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always, the recently released Netflix reunion special celebrating 30 years of Power Rangers. As far as anniversary events go, it was better than Megaforce at least.
Moon Knight! You have a mission to fulfill!
But in all seriousness, I want to look at Once and Always from the perspective of a Power Rangers fan who has no real emotional connection to Mighty Morphin in particular, and see if we can draw any profound conclusions about it as both a piece of the decades-long Power Rangers story, and as a sort of reunion special. Right off the bat, this special is fan service incarnate, and that kind of makes it a mixed bag, because a lot of what stood out to me while watching it were moments like this.
Magic wand! Make my monster grow!
And this. And even just seeing these guys. And I know to anyone not familiar with Power Rangers, this seems like a certifiable glup shitto moment, and you're wrong, these two are actually mainstays. No, the real glup shitto moment was seeing all the Rangers that got turned into action figure, and seeing my boys Connor and Trent, like I actually cheered at my TV. And then I realized that I am 21 years old cheering for the fact that characters I liked when I was a kid are evoking an audible reaction from me when they only appear as literal action figures. And I complain about the creative bankruptcy of Star Wars. But while the fan service stuff is very much a driving factor for this special, it's a reunion special for a superhero franchise. I kind of expected as much. But the story actually kind of had me invested. It's pretty by the numbers as a legacy sequel. In fact, it's almost like we're filling out a legacy sequel bingo card. The child of the deceased fan favorite who wants to live up to their parents' legacy. Ham-fisted dialogue to exposit what the characters have been doing in the past few decades. Repeated mentions of characters that logically should be involved with the story, but the actors didn't want to come back. Cameos from characters that aren't exactly fan favorites, but they have just enough of a fan base that they need to be there or other people are going to complain, etc. Gun to my head, I really like Min as a character here. She's pretty hard to like at first, but she's got some understandable issues. Tends to happen when your mom gets blown up by a witch from outer space. And I actually kind of respected the decision to show Trini's death on screen. Obviously, this special has very different circumstances from Wakanda Forever, but it reminded me of how that movie handled T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman's passing, with a mostly quiet and desperate scene, whereas this more has the energy of a soldier who falls in the line of duty. I like how Zack steps up to raising her, and I like the dynamic of Min blaming Billy for what happened and eventually coming to forgive him for something that was out of his control. I thought it was just pretty effective. I think the problem with this special, if I'm ignoring the CG Megazord massive contradictions to the lore, is that it's made for the fans. Only for the fans. We're seeing a rise lately in fandom and fan service becoming domineering forces in how big franchises are telling their stories. It feels like many of these franchises are leaning on older material and pandering as a means of keeping fans invested. And a common complaint you hear with these stories is that cameos and Easter eggs do not substitute actual storytelling and character building. And this kind of fits Once and Always, but it also doesn't somehow, because there is a story here. Everyone involved clearly wanted you to care about the return of Billy Cranston and Zack Taylor and the Batman-esque character arc of Min Kwan, but it feels like 50% nostalgia, 50% actual storytelling. And this is why I'm torn on this special. I don't think it does enough with its story to be a fulfilling continuation of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but I also don't think that it's a completely empty narrative driven only by nostalgia. It also doesn't feel like a reunion special, which is what it's actually marketed as, because to me, that's what they did for stuff like Fresh Prince or Harry Potter, where the main cast just sits down in a room and reminisces. And granted, this does have a moment like that, but it's not David Yost and Walter Emmanuel Jones reminiscing about their younger years. It's Billy Cranston and Zach Taylor talking to their deceased friend's daughter, and it's a very different energy. So Once and Always sits in this weird nebulous space where it's not quite a reunion special, it's not quite a legacy sequel, it's just this strange and fun artifact that exists within the Power Rangers canon, and part of me loves it for that alone, and for how it pays tribute to Thuy Trang and Jason David Frank. And part of me wishes we did get a more traditional reunion special for the actors to reminisce on these career-defining and genre-changing roles, or a feature-length legacy sequel that checks back in with all these characters that we love so much. I liked Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always because I am a fan. And if you're a fan of Power Rangers, I would recommend it, but maybe watch it by yourself and not with anyone who you wouldn't want seeing you geek out too hard. Also, this is now the single piece of media that contains the highest amount of actors I've met, because one way or another, I've met Catherine Sutherland, Walter Emmanuel Jones, and Jason David Frank. Obviously, he's not like in this, but, you know, he's in this. And not that, you know, these guys are in this, but I've also met Nakia Burris, Matthew William Schufelt, and Jack Guzman. So sound off in the comments if you've met more Power Rangers than I have. I am genuinely curious. Special thanks to my buddy Omar for donating to the $10 tier on the Patreon. Money's a little tight, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, because there's a lot of movies coming out. Go look at the amount of, because you guys, I think, at this point kind of have like a general idea of what kind of movies I watch. Go look at the amount of movies that are coming out in June alone, and you're gonna understand why things are happening. So, to do a Power Rangers reference, I need patron power now! So if you guys could go and donate to the Patreon, it would really help me out. There are exclusive benefits. I have a couple of videos coming up soon that I'm going to have companion videos for on Patreon, that are just going to be like fun asides of just like, it's kind of like bonus content. And then on top of that, I've been doing recent movie reviews. Basically, whenever I see a movie in theaters, I do just like a traditional review of it over on the Patreon, just like written word stuff, because it's, you know, not worth the effort to make like a full video on every single movie I see in the theater. But I know some of you actually like care about some of the stuff I watch, so yeah, if you could go donate to the Patreon, you get all those benefits, as low as $3 a month. And yeah, it really does help me out, especially, again, there's just a lot of things coming up that I would like to have money for.